Hello friends, I'm George, the nice medic gentleman. Welcome back to the channel guys. I hope that all of you are doing well. Today's video is going to be about a fragrance from the house of Maison Alhambra that's called Glacier Bold. This fragrance is an interesting take on the original DNA of Jean-Paul Gaultier's Le Beau and Le Beau Le Parfum. Now, I still can't make my mind on whether this is a clone of the EDT or the Parfum version, but today I'm going to talk about this fragrance. So let's check it out. As usual, let's first take a quick look at the packaging, the presentation and the bottle design of a Glacier Bold. The fragrance comes packaged in this metal box that's pretty similar to what you get with the original fragrance. On the front you got the name of the fragrance, you got the name of the company, you got the bottle size, which is 100 milliliters, and on the front also you get the concentration, which is EDP. Around the back you get the sticker of authenticity, some additional branding. On the top there's a Maison Alhambra logo, and then on the bottom there's a production date which reads July of 2023. And once you open up the box, this is how the bottle looks. Again, unlike the actual box, the bottle design doesn't have pretty much nothing in common with the original bottle design. What rather this has is pretty much the same design as all other fragrances in the Glacier line. Now, one thing that this fragrance has in common with the original scent is the sort of a gradient coloring that you get in here, compared to the original fragrance. The note breakdown of Glacier Bold that's available online has the following notes. It's a pretty simplistic note breakdown. The top note is bergamot, just one note listed. The middle notes are coconut and ouds, and the base note is tonka bean, again just one note listed. Now, all of the notes that are listed here are actually present in the fragrance, but there are quite a few other notes that are not present in the note breakdown, but that are definitely present in the fragrance itself. I'll show you the sprayer in action and then I'll talk about the scent of Glacier Bold. The sprayer is actually pretty good. Now, let's talk about the scent itself. Now, the opening of this fragrance is a very fruity affair. You get a blast of sweet coconut, in the opening. You also get a blast of sweet pineapple note. Both those two fruity notes are so strong and so sweet that they come off a little bit bubblegummy even, to my nose. There's a touch of woodiness in the opening of this fragrance, maybe a touch of something like vanilla sweetness. So the opening is all in all pretty sweet, pretty fruity, and there's pretty much no spiciness in here. It feels a little bit creamy even because of that woodiness, and it's actually pretty smooth and pretty nicely blended. When this fragrance goes into the dry down, maybe you lose a bit of the fruity sweetness from the opening, but sort of the vanilla sweetness in here starts to get a little bit stronger on the dry down, and this fragrance becomes a little bit more woody on that dry down. And also there's another note on the dry down here that's pretty strong, and that's the note of tonka bean that gives this fragrance a sort of a powdery feel on the dry down. And also one other note that at least my nose detects on the dry down here is a musk note. It's not very strong, but it's there in the background. All in all, this is a very fruity, very sweet fragrance that has a little bit of an woody backbone. There's absolutely no spiciness in this one. There's pretty much no freshness. It's all about the fruity sweetness with this fragrance. When it comes to how close Glacier Bold is to the original scents, as I said in the opening of the video, I still cannot make up my mind whether this is a clone of the EDT or the Parfum version. I think this leans a little bit towards the Parfum side, but the way that this differs is the fact that this feels less sweet and less fruity compared to the original scents. Both original scents have a lot more sweetness, even more sweetness compared to Glacier Bold, which is already a pretty sweet fragrance. And compared to the EDP version or the Parfum version, the dry down here feels a little bit less woody. It feels, all in all, this feels a little bit less creamy, a little bit less sweet, and a little bit more aromatic, let's call it that. So it's not a direct one-to-one clone, it's more like a twist on the original DNA. When it comes to performance, Glacier Bold has not been a huge performer, you know, at least in my experience. I've been getting around about 7 hours of performance out of this fragrance. The initial projection is pretty strong, but after the first hour it starts to gradually die down before it actually becomes a skin scent at about the 2-hour mark. So performance wise, don't expect wonders from Glacier Bold. It's not disappointing, but it's not a huge performer by any means. When it comes to the price tag, I paid about 21-22 euros to get Glacier Bold, which I think at that price point is a pretty reasonable offering from the house of Maison Alhambra. And when it comes to versatility, this is a fragrance that's heavily orientated towards the warmer months of the year, you know, spring, summer. This is basically a sort of a tropical type of of scent that's great for the hot weather. And so onto my final thoughts about Glacier Bold from the house of Maison Alhambra. This is a very interesting fragrance that, in my opinion, is not a direct one-to-one clone to neither the original Le Beau EDT or the Le Beau Le Parfum versions. It stands somewhere in between. It lacks the sweetness that you get out of the original fragrances, but this can be interpreted as a good thing. For an example, I'm not a huge fan of the Le Beau line. It's just too sweet for my taste, and the coconut note in all those fragrances is just too strong for my taste. And Glacier Bold actually does a pretty nice job at toning down the sweetness, toning down that strong coconut note. And to be honest, I've actually enjoyed Glacier Bold more than the actual original scents. So if you're looking for a clone with a twist of Le Beau and Le Beau Le Parfum, and you don't mind the toned down sweetness, then you can check out Glacier Bold from Maison Alhambra. Or as I said, this is an interesting take on the original DNAs, with an added twist from Maison Alhambra in here. It's a nice, warm weather scent that you can get for a decent price and has acceptable performance. Let's call it that. So guys, in today's video I showed you Glacier Bold from the house of Maison Alhambra, an interesting twist on the original Le Beau DNA from Jean-Paul Gaultier. I hope that you found this video interesting. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that you're going to join me in the next one. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.